Hello guys, it's Memorizer92. On last video about Destroyer Guide, I thought I need profound version of engraving session. So today we're gonna go in deeper into the engravings for Destroyer. If you haven't seen my last video, I will recommend you to watch that one in advance, the Destroyer Guide, because you might not understand going through this. There are lots of sets you can make for engraving, but I'm gonna go over 4 of popular ones, 3 for hammer of rage and 1 for gravity training that are already gone for studies in KR. Then let's get started. Now, this is the most popular engraving set currently for Hammer of Rage Destroyer. Grudge increases damage by 20%, Supercharge increases the casting speed of chargeable skills by 40% and damage by 20%. Hammer of Rage increases discharge skills crit rate by 5% and crit damage by 15% for each core, which means 15% and 45% each on triple core. Cursed Doll increases attack by 16%, and Barricade increases damage by 16% whenever you have Shield on. Notice that not even one of these engravings need conditions. They don't require something like head attack or back attack. They just purely increases your output, which is the stabilized build with decent damage. The stat you want for this set can be crit main with swiftness as sub, or the proportion of crit, specialization, and swiftness as 2 to 1 to 1. First one stabilizes your damage since you will have super high crit rate along with decent amount of swiftness, which will let you land skills easier. Second one has the potential of specialization, which is the stat that increases the damage of discharge skills, and this one also has swiftness, but has lower crit rate. Now, I'm going to show you guys a short experiment regarding these engravings and stats. But before that, I have one important thing that I would like you guys to know. If someone asks me after watching this video, like, so which one is better? Or which one is the strongest? Then my answer is, it doesn't work like that. There's so many RNG that's contributed here, like crit rate and accuracy. If you raise your specialization, of course it will raise your damage more compared to maining crit if it crits though, which means it's weaker if it doesn't crit. Back in the days, I had my destroyer's crit rate at 75%. Now, most of you guys might think, whoa, 75%, that's a lot. But it wasn't for me. Believe me, I had so many times watching white colored damage, so I got sick of it and transferred to maining crit. The thing is that that's my thing, right? Someone might crit a lot with 75%, unlike me. My point is that comparing sets is meaningless, so please do the one that suits you. Now, the experiment. This set has Spirit Absorption instead of Cursed Doll, which increases your attack and movement speed by 15%. So things you want from Swiftness stat is compensated, which means you don't need to raise Swiftness. So mostly you wanna work on your stats like either crit main and the specialization sub, or 50 to 50 or somewhere between them. This set has Master Brawler instead of Cursed Doll, which increases the damage of head attack by 25%. This is crazy because it does more damage than the Grudge, but you get the risk of not getting the bonus if you hit the other side. You want to go for specialization for this set to maximize the damage when head attacks. So this set has the highest risk but also highest return as well. It's like gambling. When you hit head attack and crits, you get the strongest damage ever. But if not even one of the conditions are met, you get the lowest damage ever. Notice in Lost Ark, if you head attack with head attack skills, you get bonus of 20% damage and 10% stagger. Back attack gives you bonus of 5% damage and 10% crit rate. And Perfect Swing, which is the strongest skill Destroyer has, can hit both as head and back attack. I know that having 503 level engraving is unreal for NA and EU, so let me tell you how you should build for each count of engravings. For double 3, Supercharge and Hammer of Rage. These two are mandatory engravings that increases casting speed and crit. Here's the experiment what happens without the supercharge and swiftness. That's pretty slow, right? Mobs are not just gonna stay and give you a shot for that. For triple 3, Supercharge, Hammer of Rage, and Grudge. For quadruple 3, Supercharge, Hammer of Rage, Grudge, and Barricade. Barricade is the mandatory engraving when it comes to fourth engravings. Since Destroyer's discharge skills give you shield, Barricade is a free DPS increase without any condition. And for the fifth one, you go either Cursed Doll or Spirit Absorption or Master Brawler based on the guide what I said. Keen Blunt Weapon is not good as fifth engraving. This engraving increases crit damage by 50%, which is insane. And there's already a study in KR that if your crit rate is over 60%, Keen Blunt Weapon gives you more DPS than Cursed Doll. But the reason it's not good for Destroyer is because Destroyer already has crit damage buff from its class engraving, the Hammer of Rage, which increases 45% of crit damage at max core. So it becomes inefficient to go for double crit damage buff. Here's a comparison experiment video between Barricade, Cursed Doll, and Keen Blunt Weapon. That experiment is done with over 90% crit rate, by the way, which is the best condition for Keen Blunt Weapon. But surprisingly, they all did same or similar damage, and if you consider the fact that Keen Blunt Weapon has 10% chance of damage decrease by 20%, it's worse than rest of the two engravings. Adrenaline increases crit rate by 15% if you keep up with your stacks. But most of you guys who are already running this engraving in NA or EU will notice that it suits for fast characters that has high swiftness, which means it's hard for Destroyer to sustain 15% crit buff in the actual raise. Now, if you practice on the sandbag mobs like the turtle, any class can sustain adrenaline, but you're not just gonna sit there and do the turtle all day, right? And other mobs that have tricky patterns doesn't allow Destroyer to keep up adrenaline. Now we're into the gravity training. This engraving gives you 30% crit rate along with 20% damage buff on Z mode, which you can activate when you are max in identity gauge. Also, it naturally fills your gauge by 2% for every second. The set for gravity training is kinda fixed, which means this is the best set for it. Spirit absorption increases stability, allowing you to hit as much as you can in Z mode. Grudge, no doubt. Barricade, since you get a lot of shield in Z mode, and it also increases the damage of discharge skills. Master Brawler pairs up well with Spirit Absorption because speed buff lets you easier to make position and head attack. Now I'm going to show you the video. Notice that I have 4 discharge skills to fill up the gauge faster, and their tripods are different. This set doesn't need casting tripod or edge bonuses since the purpose is to fill up the gauge faster than just DPSing. For gravity training, if you are running double 3, Grudge and gravity training is recommended. For triple 3, Grudge, gravity training, and barricade. For quadruple 3, Grudge, gravity training, barricade, and master brawler. Well guys, that's all for today. please hit the subscribe because that will really help me out. And thanks for your support and kind reply for the previous videos. Thank you so much. Then until the next video, stay GigaChat boys.